Welcome back, Grade 6, to Nelson Math, Chapter 3, Section 7, Changing the Scale on a Graph. In Section 3.6, we learned about changing the intervals. We learned by changing the intervals on the horizontal axis. Today we're doing something a little bit similar, but it's certainly different. Today we're learning what happens when we change the scale on a graph, and in this case, it's on the vertical axis. So I'm going to read you what a scale is, and we'll look at what the scale does on this graph right here. The scale of a bar or line graph refers to the numbers on the vertical and horizontal axes. In this case, it's just on the vertical axis. The scale of a graph can affect the appearance of data. In this graph right here, the scale of the vertical axis goes from 0 to 200. And in this graph, with a scale of 0 to 200, these bars look almost exactly the same size. They're very difficult to tell the difference at first glance. At first glance, the green looks just a little bit bigger than the red and the yellow. The red and the yellow look very similar. And the green looks slightly bigger than blue in our graph of favorite colors. However, if we take the same data and we regraph it on this second graph, which is showing the exact same, we've changed the vertical axis. Instead of going from 0 to 200, it now goes from 0 to 2. And each one of these hash marks is now a change of 2 instead of a change of 25. So here we're counting by 2's, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, so on, instead of 0, 25, 50, 75. This graph with a scale of 0 to 200 has all this empty space and the bars look like they're the same size. However, by making this the scale from 0 to 20, where we skip count by 2's, we can now see that the bars on the graph are actually quite different. We can see that green is substantially taller than yellow. So way more people had their favorite color as green compared to yellow. And that's very difficult to see on the original graph right here. The length of the bars, the difference is obvious right there. One thing I'd like to point out on this particular set of graphs is that once you start skip counting by a certain number, you must continue to skip count by that same number when you make the scale on a graph. So say, for example, I wanted to go from 0 to 20 on my scale. I cannot start saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then start counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I can't do that. I can either count by 1s and choose to count by 1s all the way to the top, or I can count by 2s and I can go counting by 2s all the way to the top, or I can count by 3s all the way to the top. You must do that when making a graph. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.